piece that brought tears to the eyes is when the government, when they were outlining 75 iconic milestones for India, which included the test tube baby or Pokhran or the IITs. For 2011, InMobi became part of one of those iconic milestones. We are seeing that the Japanese consumers of glance are lapping up the games on glance. Why? Because this is that generation that grew up on Sega, on Atari, on Mario.
But now, in the vantage point that you're in, do you think we are looking at maybe an appless world?
There's a lady in Gujarat who learns one English word a day on glance. Imagine generating a new realistic photo of yours each time you unlock your phone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Our Own Devices. Again, as our promise is, we are going to get a lot of insight, a lot of understanding about what's happening in the world of tech and what's going to happen in the world of tech. And this time you're going to hear from one of India's biggest success stories in the tech space. And this is the company called InMobi. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. But we're going to talk primarily about one of their more successful products recently, which is Glance. I guess a lot of you already use it on your mobile phones. But we have with us Piyush Shah, who's co-founder of the InMobi Group and President and CEO of Glance, to talk about this lock screen and how the latest fad in technology, which is AI, sort of merges into this lock screen. Mr. Shah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here and super excited.
So let me just start by setting a little bit of context for our listeners. So if you could explain a little bit quickly about the InMobi journey and how you have reached Glance.
Yeah, so InMobi was a baby that a few of us co-founded back in 2007, 2008. And we saw that mobile is going to be large. iPhone had just launched. The app ecosystem had just started. And we really felt that there is a great chance to be a world-class mobile advertising platform that could compete against the likes of Google and Meta and whatnot, even at that time. So we saw the wave of mobile, saw the app ecosystem coming in, and frankly, none of us came from those backgrounds. We just formed it because we felt it is important to have a world-class product and tech company out of India. That was a bigger mission and dream that most of us got oxygen from.
Yeah.
So we did that. It became one of the fastest growing companies at that time. The proudest moment was when we became the first unicorn of the country back in 2011. And then we became the first profitable unicorn. That was more interesting. In all of this, the piece that brought tears to the eyes is when the government, when they were outlining 75 iconic milestones for India, which included the test tube baby or Pokhran or the IITs. For 2011, InMobi became part of one of those iconic milestones because we were the first unicorn. So that frankly was something that gave us a lot of pride out there. So from that journey where we became global and tech first, we also wanted to build something that was consumer first. While InMobi was more B2B, we felt if we have to go and be defensible out there against the biggies, the big tech out there, we got to own our consumers. We got to do something which is very different for consumers and how they interact with their devices. And that's when Glance got formed, almost 5-6 years ago, where we incubated Glance as a very small, 6-member team, a bunch of engineers and a couple of product guys who went out and said, hey, what will it mean for us to reimagine how consumers use their lock screens, their surfaces, the idle screens on their devices? And that's where the Glance journey started. And of course, it's been amazing how we have evolved from there. So that's the journey we've had. We can talk more about Glance for sure. But it's been fascinating for us internally that the dream was to build a world-class consumer internet company coming out of Asia and India, and do it not just in the B2B space, but also now in the consumer space, and drive that innovation, which we saw a lot of innovation in that space in the first wave from the Valley. We saw a second wave coming from China, global consumer internet companies. And we felt it is high time that we did this from India and Asia as a third wave of consumer-driven innovation. And it is the right time because a lot of the innovation that is emerging from here is universal in nature. WhatsApp or UPI and Glance, for that matter, are not just India or Asia specific innovation. It is relevant for the world. So that gave us a lot of wings, and it's been a great journey.
An oft repeated phrase on this podcast is that if you solve for India, you solve for the world, because India is so complex, and you see almost all kinds of use cases that if you do it here, you solve it for Latin America, you solve it for East Asia. Is that true?
No, absolutely true. There is no question on that.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll talk more at the deepest level. At the deepest level, it is not about the technology or the code or the model.
Yeah.
It is the emotion and the mental model and the need and the pain point that you're trying to solve for. And at the heart of it, we realize that what we are trying to solve for is make those previously boring, uninspiring screens into something that makes a user feel smarter, makes a user feel more enriched, more intelligent. Give them moments. Each time they glance on their phone, give them the moments that make them feel the best version of themselves. I mean, that's the vision of it.
Yeah.
And it is as universal as it can get, right? In terms of users wanting to get enriched, wanting to get delighted and inspired without making too much effort. It is not about saying, hey, I want to go to my fourth tab and open up that one app and get inspired. Here is a way where a piece of real estate that we all see 200 times a day, that I call it, it is precious and pristine, yet extremely untapped.
Yeah.
How do you somewhat reimagine it so that each time a user sees and glances on their phone, they get some value out of it, some meaning out of it, something that they discover that is new, that inspires them, delights them. And I think at that core level, at the core need or problem that we talked about, it is as universal as it can get. And we saw that. Whatever we did here, we have not changed the product of Glance when we launched it into Japan.
Yeah.
Or for that matter, in the US. Yeah, we'll keep innovating and enhancing the overall product. But it is one product. It is not different products for different markets, because consumers everywhere are increasingly, I would say, gravitating towards a universal theme of needs with their devices. That's the core of what we are seeing. And TikTok did that in its own way, in its beautiful way. And we feel that we are onto something similar. Definitely.
In fact, you should correct me if I'm wrong, but when I think of a product like Glance, it reminds me about how the concept of Uber came out. No, Uber was basically trying to cash in on the fact that most of the cars are not used for most of the time, right? And it was trying to cash in on the idle time of a car or the wasted seats in the car. Like a person, let's say, who's driving from San Francisco to San Jose every day, but is alone, and you have 3 seats which can be used by others. Like in a way, a product like Glance is also looking at the idle screen, right? The time when you're actually not using a phone, you can actually use it, to inspire somebody, as you said, or to make the screen actually a valuable property. You really don't need to unlock. Every time you glance at it, and I love the name for that fact. You glance at it, you get a little bit of information, and it's maybe something actionable. It doesn't have to be something actionable. And we know, looking at reader behavior, A lot of content people just need to consume the headline. You are informed, right? You don't need a deep dive. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I like the way you drew that analogy. Uh, I especially like it because by design, Uber created that category, right? And
Yeah,
that's why you say, let me Uber. Even if you're using Ola, you say, let me Uber it.
yeah,
Uh,
it's true.
and I think what we are seeing is glance increasingly, especially from the last 1.5 years, given the scale, uh, we are starting to hear the industry talk about glancing as a verb,
Yeah,
you
or the
know,
glance screen.
or the glance screen. So it's becoming a verb and a
Yes.
noun that way. We just saw, and we were very interested. BCG also brought out this whole report called Reimagining Smartphone Experiences, where they described surfaces as the next frontier of human
Yeah,
device interaction. As we all usher in this appless world. We've
yeah,
had apps for 15, 16 years. We've all had hundreds of it. But what could it mean for us to get that value, get that information, do that discovery and consumption and maybe transaction in a slice of an app way?
yeah,
So they talk about it as this whole thing. And we have been global pioneers in this field, bringing these discovery-led experiences through surfaces, as you call it.
yeah,
And like you said, we said there is something about this screen zero in our lives, on the phone, on the TV,
yeah,
tomorrow inside the cars. And there's research that shows that, if you pick up the phone 100 times, half of this time we do it with some intent. There is predetermined intent that I want to go in and do my WhatsApp or Netflix or Hotstar or Shazam, whatever. More than 45% of the time, there is spontaneity in that pickup.
yeah,
And that is when you do it because you just want to look at the clock or the weather or your notifications on your screen zero. And that is the mental model where Glance said, hey, let's change this altogether. Can we make this different altogether for users and get them to discover something new? Discover that breaking news in the world out there. Discover that latest fashion trend on monochrome pants. Discover the new movie and the new music album release that you otherwise would be wondering, what do I watch on Netflix tomorrow?
yeah,
Right? Discover that crazy, discover the scores happening in Wimbledon or in cricket, because you just cannot catch up with these things. There's so much happening in the world. So most of the users who end up using it, we've seen that there is too much happening around them. They are overwhelmed. They have busy lives, but they don't want to reduce their passions. They want to be in touch with these things. They want to stay updated. They want to feel inspired about what's happening. In many cases, they actually they love Glance because they can go back to their workplace and uh, stay relevant or
yeah,
feel that they are savvy enough and aware enough on what's happening in Israel or Iran or wherever, or
mhm,
about the latest movie and the latest fashion trend.
yeah,
And across the board, whether it's Indonesia or towns in India, we see that this is the emotion they come with. This allows me to stay updated, stay relevant, feel smarter, feel more enriched and inspired. So I think I like the way you asked it, but I think we've gone beyond that underutilized
idle screen.
economy point.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
true.
becoming, we're seeing users spending, they like it this way. They would
Yeah,
rather do it this way than go and figure out which app to unlock their phone,
yeah,
go and open a particular app, because there's a whole world of other apps that you don't have. And we bring
yeah,
that world also to you through AI.
yeah. You mentioned how across the world, maybe the user needs are similar, and the behavior is similar. But AI gives you this great opportunity to sort of, how do I put it? Like, democratize personalization, right? Like you can actually personalize it for every single human being if you want to. Like, so how are you looking at AI? Because it's a great opportunity for you to.
Yeah, and it's a great question. I know it's becoming a buzzword, courtesy Sam Altman and Satya and many, many other people. I
Yeah,
mean, we thought of this. There is no other way to deliver a better glance than use high tech
yeah,
ML and data science.
yeah,
There was no other way but to curate on what's trending and what's best and a slice of what's happening in the world and help users discover it on their glance, right?
yeah,
We had to make sure we leverage all of that to figure out what's trending, what's happening, and what's relevant basis the user's interaction with glance, basis the preferences and likes and history of what they did on glance. So that's one thing we have been investing a lot. And bear in mind, it is the universe of content out there that we're trying to curate and somewhat serve as a glance on people's phones, and your glances will be different from mine.
yeah,
There is vernacular, there is local happening. What a person in Baroda is going to see is different from what someone in Telangana will see,
yeah,
right? And of course, same in Indonesian islands, or in Japan. I mean, Japan, it's funny that a lot of the senior people, because the average age of Japan is so high, it's
yeah, yeah,
48.6. We are seeing that the Japanese consumers of glance are lapping up the games on glance. Why? Because this is that generation that grew up on Sega, on Atari,
hmm,
on Mario.
okay,
And
yeah,
now they're old and they want to discover these games without trying to look for them in the App Store.
yeah,
They can play games without downloading them. So I think in all of these cases, AI has played a huge role on recommendation, curation, and also now generation.
yeah,
It's fascinating how our teams have leveraged it across multimodal text, image, and video. So almost 30 to 40% of glances being served today are AI first generated. But
wow,
at the same time, it is very important that there is moderation built in. So this is important. The
yeah,
generation has only happened more recently because the
hmm,
technology and the LLM models have progressed so much. But moderation had to be a first class citizen from day one. I'm on the screen, I'm on the most precious piece of real estate on the phone, and we cannot serve user generated content. It had to be premium.
yeah,
And that is why moderation became first class on, slang or porn or fake news in that sense. So
hmm,
across all three things on what is the content getting generated, what is the content getting curated and recommended for people, and how is it moderated? I think we've been using it from like 4 years ago.
hmm,
What has changed now? What has changed now is the level of discovery for people on more things that they could care for. There's so much consumption of these videos and images and whatnot. I'm showing the same piece of news or the same cricket score to you versus say Priyanka, but both
yeah,
of you get something different in the way it happens. And we all
hmm,
know how Netflix does it for
yeah,
the
yeah,
movie titles, right?
yeah,
It's the same movie, but your tile will look different from mine.
yes,
I think that is fascinating how it is happening. The other thing that is fascinating that we have done, which is very interesting, is how, I mean, there are users out there who are learning. There's a lady in Gujarat who learns one English word a day on glance. She's like a senior lady. She's doing some business in HR and whatnot. And she learned about vegan and something similar to that on glance and ability for glance to figure out that can I generate one word a day every day for her
hmm,
without some creator helping here
yeah,
is happening. So I think it's been fascinating how Gen AI has allowed this explosion to happen, and for users to feel that this is meant for them, not just the article, but the picture, the video is for them. And tomorrow we will actually make users co-creators. Till now, there was some creator, some publisher who was generating them.
Yeah.
Now, in this latest cutting edge prototype we have, imagine generating a new realistic photo of yours each time you unlock your phone. You
Mhm.
know, so each
Yeah.
time you're looking, normally you would see your family's picture or God's or dog's picture, your own picture.
Yeah.
Imagine each time you're pressing that phone, you're seeing yourself in a new avatar,
Yep.
in a new location, looking like whatever, Tiger Shroff, or looking like someone who you really marvel, or wearing a new collection from your favorite fashion label. So this is not fiction. This is the future of what Glance is building with today's Gen AI, where we can do this on the device. Like this can happen on the device with on compute on device.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to go to the server that way. So, anyways, I think I'm just giving you a flavor of the
What's
range
coming?
that are happening, but it's fascinating.
Yeah. So also you touched upon the other screens, and I hadn't really thought of it, but there is a lot of opportunity out there for a product like yours, right? Because as you said that, I realized the first thing I do in the morning these days is to switch on my TV, and I'm not playing anything because it's just the smart TV at home with those landscapes rolling on the screen. But again, premium real estate, 65 inches in the living room. And you have similar screens, like it could be on my Mac, it could be on the car, because now all new cars have screens like 8 inches plus. So are you thinking of taking Glance to other surfaces, other screens?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a big play on Glance TV. We
Hmm.
are it is a cutting edge product we built with the same Glance ethos,
Yeah.
but for TVs, smart TVs. We are live in almost 300,000 TVs already
Hmm.
in India
Yeah.
with Samsung. And if you go to any Samsung TV and go to person, you'll see Glance TV in action. What
Yeah.
is it saying? It's saying we open our TV 10% of the time out of intent.
Yep.
What will it mean for us to add value each time you glance on your TV when it is not functioning, not working? And could you be updated? Could you see that latest movie trailer and understand what the world is talking about it? Could you have your stocks that you
Yeah.
follow, that you're just seeing it in that one glance? And imagine a household, right? You are sitting in front of your TV, the living room, you're working, you're getting bored, and then you're putting your head up and taking a glance, and you got that extra dose of value about that one financial news that came, or the cricket score. I mean, you have no time to maybe actually watch that IPL match or even know that CSK and RCB are playing today, but you just at least figure out the latest updates of that score, that Dhoni just hit three sixes in the
Yeah.
last four balls. So it is happening out there, and users are loving it already. And this is this level one out there. So a lot of that is happening, and 90% of our TV experience is generated through AI.
Hmm.
It's real time, it's trending, it's all through AI, because of the way, I mean, it has to look visually stunning, right? It's a 65-inch screen.
Yeah.
So we made sure that every such image looks premium, looks beautiful, is stunning out there. And I think we are just going to scale our TV product, Glance TV product, across more markets.
Yeah.
But you're right. And that it's the same ethos. It does not change. It believes in inspiration, in delight, in serendipitous discovery out there as fundamental values of Glance. And we are doing this for TV also. Yes.
So before we wind up, I think it'll be unfair on my side if I don't ask you about about the future. And you mentioned that you've been doing this since the time of the first iPhone. And I remember writing lots of cover stories and stuff at that time about the future being all apps. But now, uh, in the vantage point that you're in, do you think we are looking at maybe an appless world and going forward? Because you have so many things happening. You have you have voice happening, you have AI happening, you have devices that don't have a screen, which are maybe slowly, yeah, the first reviews are not great, but you are looking at maybe a future, of an appless world. What's your insight on that?
Well, I think you hit the nail. There are two, three parts in the future that's intersecting as shifts from a technology standpoint, from a consumer behavior standpoint, and I'd say in business models per se itself, right? And all that is converging very, very rapidly. Technology-wise, with the advent of LLMs, AI, compute at the cheapest level possible, all of that is ensuring that erstwhile heavy duty content experiences, app experiences can be taken as a slice, and you can pull out of what's out there and make it available for users in more than other places. And that's something that we are seeing out there. So that's where the appless world is coming, where we can take a slice of what is best out there inside these apps, tucked inside these apps,
Yeah.
and make them available for users in many more places in their life. So that's the technology part of it. And of course, there's more depth behind how recommendations have evolved dramatically and all that. There is a consumer behavior. I think all of us, I think as a consumer, I don't think we have the luxury or the time or the bandwidth to look for these things anymore. There's thirst for more information. There's thirst for more shopping, more trends, more movies. There is a huge long tail, if you will, of our tastes and desires. And the more someone can cater to that desire, the better it is. So consumers want this. And consumers do not want to get limited by the 30, 40, 50 apps you own when the world out there is your oyster. But if someone does a good job of serving that oyster to you and make it easy and beautiful, it is nice. So that's a consumer thing out there. I think businesses out there, I mean, you are seeing how there will be, if the app economy generated what, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million app businesses, is going to be 100x in the AI first world. I mean, the last thing I heard someone saying, in the internet world, if you were a unicorn, it meant you had to have 100, 200 people in a team. In the mobile app ecosystem world, the tectonic shift, if you had 50 to 80 people, you could be a unicorn. You could build a unicorn.
Yeah.
Look at WhatsApp, right? In today's AI first world, you need less than 5 people to build a great consumer product that could potentially become a unicorn. And look at Perplexity or Mistral or whoever. So imagine now many more entrepreneurs, many more tech folks, all building new products and services. And that there's going to be an explosion of that. And how should all that come together in this so-called appless world? So I think we see very strongly, we saw it much earlier. We felt we could do a good job of this on the surfaces. We felt it is a better way for users to get inspired, to stay enriched. And we are on this journey already, I would say.
And with that glance into the future, we have to come to the end of this wonderful episode. A lot of insight, and again coming from people who have done it. So Piyush Shah, thanks for being on the show. It was fascinating hearing you, and again a lot of insight for our listeners.
Thank you. It was amazing.
You are listening to Our Own Devices. We'll be back again with another guest. Till then, goodbye.